Bobby Cameron is the chief of the Federation of Sovereign Indian Nations, which represents First Nations in Saskatchewan. And Chief Cameron, first of all, thanks for taking time to speak with me today. And please accept my condolences to you and the people you represent. This is another difficult day, and I should point out that we're going to display phone numbers during our conversation here for people who feel they may need support because of the news that we are getting today. Chief Cameron, we heard from Chief Delorme today that there was once markers at this gravesite, but that they were removed in the 1960s, that it's being treated as a crime scene for the removal of those markers. And I guess I want to start there. Was there once a record of the people buried there, or are they completely unknown?
You see, that's where there's serious miscommunication from the Catholic Church of Canada and obviously the government of the day. They tried to sweep this under the rug. They tried to hide this. And as far as those information and those records, we will never know.
Okay, so do you believe the Catholic Church, and perhaps whoever else might have been involved with the Catholic Church, removed those markers willingly and knowingly to try and hide this location and hide the fact that more than 700 First Nations children and adults were buried there? That's what you think happened?
Well, for sure. I mean, our survivors have been telling us that for decades. They're trying to hide this. They're trying to keep it away from the public of Canada, and for that matter, on the world scene. They don't want this to get out there, but it is here now, and we intend to do our best to fix it, rectify it, and for our survivors and descendants, that healing journey continue for each and every one of them.
What do we know about the people buried there?
Well, we can only speculate how many children. The fact of the matter is there are some adults, as Chief Cadmus had mentioned. Mm-hmm. You know, we're also looking at other sites. We are going to find more. And what we're doing as an organization is we're going to go the distance, and we're going to do our very best to find as much as those unmarked graves as possible, because our survivors and descendants deserve the proper closure and deserve to continue to heal.
You touched on it. Saskatchewan had some 20 residential schools, and how many of those grounds do you expect will be searched for unmarked burial sites, and what do you believe will be found?
Well, if the direction and the requests come from our First Nation communities to go to certain sites, we're going to go. We're not going to deny anybody. It is our intention to not exclude anybody. It is our intention to hear and get direction from the survivors and descendants of these sites. We don't call them residential school sites. Mm-hmm. For many of our survivors, they were institutions of torture, abuse, and death.
You compared them today, in fact, to concentration camps, and that these findings demand accountability from the Catholic Church in particular. What do you want?
We would say this, that this was an act of crime against humanity. It was an assault on many First Nation boys and girls. We are proud people. We are very proud people. We're humble people. If anything, that the governments, the Pope, and everybody else will finally listen and act on the direction of our survivors and descendants and our leadership right across the country. The best solutions are right at the First Nation level.
Tell me more about that, the response and the financial support from the federal and provincial governments to fund these searches. Provinces are stepping up to pay towards these searches, but is it your feeling that there's enough engagement, that enough is being done at this point?
Yeah, well, we'll say this. It's certainly a great start, and has kick-started many of the work continuing right at these school sites. Many survivors are giving us good direction. Our knowledge keepers are having proper ceremonies and protocols. These are all part of the whole process. And there are going to be sites that are going to begin the ground penetrating work as soon as possible. And we will find more. We just ask for a lot of prayers.
I mean, there is a context to this, and a recent history to this. I mean, these stories, these communications from First Nations elders and people who had memories of these residential schools brought this to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which asked for more funding to be able to begin that search 5 and 6 years ago, but the government of the day said no to it. How does that make you feel now that the truth is being known?
Yeah, it took this to finally open the eyes of all levels of government and the general public of this country and the world. It took these findings and to finally understand what our survivors have been saying for several decades. People believe now. Now it's time for action. The healing process, the direction and guidance from our survivors and descendants is of the utmost priority here.
You just said that people now know and people believe. What do you want? What would you like from those of us who are not First Nations in terms of a response to these discoveries and the response you get from non-First Nations Canadians about how to move forward?
Yeah, what we will say is certainly the prayers that are rendered for our survivors and descendants and our First Nation communities. We request those. We request support from all of our allies to understand where First Nations are coming from, to take the direction from our survivors and descendants, to help with that healing journey that's so crucial right now, because it has triggered a lot of emotions right across First Nation communities across this country.
Chief Cameron, thank you so much for your time on as I say, a very difficult day. I appreciate you giving us your perspective this evening, and we'll continue to follow the story, and I hope we get a chance to talk again soon, and once again, my condolences.
Yeah. I'd like to say this on a lasting note.
Yes, sir.
I feel it's important. We try to put ourselves in the eyes and the bodies of these children in the ground that have been discovered. And a small voice whispers from a First Nation child, they found us. They found us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Chief Cameron. Take care.